everybody. So I'm back again with another video on Don Russell. As you know, I've done at least two videos on Don Russell by now. The first video that I did was taking a look at the first indictment that was made against Don Russell. And in that indictment, I thought that he could beat it. I thought he was 100% innocent. And then there was a follow-up video because the grown little boy made commentary on that video. So, I had to clap back. I had to clap back with a video, and basically that video just pointed out the fact that grown little boy was just reading the first indictment. He's not really elaborating, or at least I didn't think he pointed out anything of substance to show why Don Russell was guilty, right? So that was the second video. So, overall, I make this commentary as I receive the information or as I read the information, right? Hold on a second. So, when I got the first indictment off of the Department of Justice website. I got three indictments actually. I got the indictment for Michael Williams and Arline Jr. and Don Russell. So I make these videos based off of the information before me at that time. Now, when I released the first video, I found out that there was indeed a second indictment against Don Russell, and that's what this video is about, right? So I'm making I made the first video in 100% good faith. There's a second video. I mean, there's a second indictment out, and we're looking at it now. And I've already read it. So I've already read it. I'm going to condense this video, and I'm not going to reread this particular indictment. I know some people like me to read stuff over basically, YouTube. I'm not going to read this one, right? So essentially, I'm just going to give you a summary. So in this indictment, Don Russell is being charged with two things. The first thing he's being charged with is going to be 18 USC 371. And 371 is going to be a conspiracy to defraud the United States. The second thing that he's being charged with is 18 USC 875, 875C specifically. And this is essentially a charge for making the bomb threat over the phone. Let me read the actual verbiage of this charge. And it basically goes on to say, whoever transmit in interstate or foreign commerce any communication containing any threat to kidnap any person or any threat to injure the person of another shall be defined under this title or imprisoned not more than 5 years or both. So this is for the bomb threat. Now, I'm just going to say first video, when I made the first video, I made it based off the information I had at the time. And I feel as if I still need to justify the things that I was saying in the first video. So let me just kind of go over that really fast before we go too deep into this indictment. So the only thing that I'm trying to tell you, or the only thing I was trying to say to you guys, is that anytime you're in litigation, anytime you're being sued, you have a right to defend yourself to the general public, or you have the right to go and do media appearances, and you have the right to do a media blitz, if you will, to profess your innocence. You have a right to create Facebook or websites that profess your innocence. You have a right to communicate with the opposing party, to send them evidence to basically prove you're innocent. Now, in this grand scheme of things, that's all Don Russell actually did. The government is actually just trying to make it look like he did something unlawful, when in fact the only thing that he did was to litigate in the normal course of litigation. He did just about the same thing that anyone else could do in that situation. Now, the other thing is that anytime you're pressed, or anytime you're in a situation where you don't have the ability to deal with your lawsuit, you can always delegate the lawsuit out to someone else. And you do that with a power of attorney, right? That's the way you formally do it. But you and I both know, if you're a family member or your friend or something like that, I could tell you, I don't have time to deal with this. Can you help me out? Can you get on these people? Can you, get them off my back? Just do something, do anything, right? So that's a agreement between me and that person, that they're going to handle my affairs. But the formal way to do it is through a power of attorney. And no, you don't have to be a lawyer to do this. The only time you have to be a lawyer is when you're actually in court and you're speaking before judge and jury. And I actually recently found out from the Supreme Decisions YouTube channel that you don't even have to be a lawyer, right? It all depends on the agreement that you have, the contract that you have. I think Supreme Decisions said you just have to hire that person as a legal consultant, and you just have to pay them or give them something of value, and then they can actually speak on your behalf in court. So you don't have to be a lawyer, right? So essentially the only thing I'm trying to say is that the first indictment is no good because Don Russell was just simply defending R. Kelly. The photos that he used in the media blitz and the photos that he used on the Surviving Liars Facebook page were photos of Faith, but they didn't show any sexually explicit parts. They didn't show her explicit body parts, anything like that. They were suggestive videos. They were titillating, but they didn't show anything that Faith Rogers didn't show in any other videos, right? So Faith Rogers maybe could say, "Hey, I didn't give my consent for this," but that's grounds for a civil suit. It's not grounds for an indictment. So I just thought the first indictment was drew up against Don simply to put pressure on Don to get him to flip and to defeat R. Kelly's bail hearing. And I'll be making a video about that. And as well to substantiate a RICO charge. That's what that first indictment was about. But when you look at the substance of that indictment, you'll find it's 100% garbage. It's 100% nonsense. And when you look at the actual allegation, right, the actual part where someone testifies, not testifies, but they accuse him of doing something, they don't even actually accuse him of doing anything. They say they believe when the person said this, they meant that it was a threat that they would expose Faith's photos. So it's all based off of someone's belief. There's no hard evidence that he did anything out of pocket. Yes, when you read the first part of that indictment, it goes on to basically formally accuse him. But when you read the rest of it, all you have to do is just think and ask yourself, could anybody do this normally in litigation? And the answer is going to be yes. So that's why I thought the first one was garbage. Now, this one is altogether different. This one is very different. And after reading this one, I don't know. I think Don Russell's goose might be cooked. I think his goose might be cooked. And the reason I say this is because they have his cell phone records, they have his cell phone location, and they also have his text messages. At first, when I read this indictment, the first thing I thought was that I could actually maybe add on a defense to this. And I would add on a defense in this video for Don Russell. And I thought one of the things that could be his defense is that he could just go and say that his cell phone numbers were spoofed. And for those of you that don't know what spoofing is, there's a way for me to make a phone call and make it appear as someone else is calling, right? So Don elected to do, and it tells you in this indictment, he tried to do a star 67 on a lot of his calls, but that doesn't work when people are actually people are actually going through the cell phone records, and you have forensic investigators, looking through the phone records and things of that nature. They can easily find that, but cell phone spoofing would have thrown them off the track 100%, because if I make a call and I make it look like you made that call, I don't believe that they would have been able to trace the call back to me. So that was one of the first defense that I thought of, but as I read on and as I rethought the that defense, I don't think that defense would work for several reasons. One reason is that they appear to have an informant. There's a person in here that they refer to as CC1, and to me, when you refer to people in this manner, they're either one or two things. And this is my opinion. You guys let me know if I'm wrong, question, comments below. But when you refer to a person in this manner, they're either a victim or an informant. And I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe CC1 has flipped and CC1 has become an informant. So if they have an informant, and CC1 was a person that Don was communicating with when he was allegedly coordinating the bomb threat. So if they have an informant, that's going to make it difficult because the informant is going to come out and testify. The FBI, they got this game on lock. They get into your circle, and then they threaten people in your circle with jail time, and eventually somebody's going to flip, because not everybody's a ride or die. Not everybody is going to be willing to go to jail. People flip, right? So to me, it looks like CC1 has flipped. Questions and comments below if you know who CC1 is. Questions and comments below if you believe that they flipped, right? So yeah, so he made a bomb threat. Allegedly, he made a bomb threat, and there's all types of evidence. They have the cell phone records, they have his text messages, uh, they have this potential informant, and they essentially found out that he was using two phones. So the story on this is that Don found out about the surviving R. Kelly taping or screening. And Don initially sent a letter to the people in the screening, and he said that, hey, look, you guys need to stop this. It was a cease and desist letter. And when they received that letter, they basically said, screw you, we're going to continue screening, continue taping. And at that point, Don actually tried to call the police, uh, and basically, and I think this is where the conspiracy to defraud the United States is coming from, because he calls the police and he makes a prank call, basically saying that, there's a guy at the studio with a gun, right? So he makes that call. When that doesn't work, he calls in the bomb threat. He calls in the bomb threat in efforts to get them to stop taping. And of course, they that worked for that time, but it didn't, as you know, it didn't stop the docu-series. So it was found out, they got his cell phone records to two cell phones, and then not only did they get the records, but they knew where he was based off of the phone tower pings. They also found that he used a landline. So this indictment is just totally different. Um, they have information that basically points to Don's guilt. And I think at this point, there's no way that, in my opinion, I don't see how Don can beat this. His only chance of actually beating this is just say, it wasn't me. Someone had access to my cell phones. Someone had access to my landline. It was someone else. I don't know who would have done this to me or who would have tried to frame me, but I promise you, it wasn't me. And the only obstacle to a defense like that is that they potentially have the informant CC1. If CC1 is not an informant, then yeah, he could potentially get off with this, right? It's not a huge chance, but if he can convince the jury that, hey, I don't know who did this. It's between, three people at that time. And I'm just making this up as I go, right? At that time, I had my cell phone. Person A, B, and C actually was repeatedly using my phone. I shared that cell phone, with, different people. Some of those people were in my house in Chicago. It's a stretch. It's a long stretch. I don't know if he should just go ahead and take a plea deal and just get this over with, because to me it seems like they have solid evidence, but I don't know. Basically they have the cell phone records to two of his phones, and they have cell phone tower pings, and they have a potential informant. So his goose might be cooked. It might be cooked. So that's it for this video. I'm basically gonna cut it off for here. You guys let me know. Do you think Don can actually beat this, or do you think his goose is cooked and he just may as well take a plea deal? Now, of course, you guys already know what a plea deal is going to include. A plea deal is going to include him flipping on R. Kelly. I can tell you that right off the bat. If he gets any type of plea deal, it's going to be based on what information he can provide against R. Kelly. This is a cold game, man. This is a cold game. Someone basically told me the reason they're coming after him so hard is because they want him to flip. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think he's going to flip? Do you think he should flip? Questions, comments below. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.